Hi, everybody. This is John Murphy, MRTech.com, with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on Valentine's Day, the second, or the February the 14th in the year of our Lord 2026, second month, 14th day, 2026. Okay, let me go ahead and click on Murtech on Rumble because we got a lot of great information for you tonight. All right, this is my live stream, episode 1838. Let's click into this and see what we got here. All right, let me pause that, close out the live chat, slide down here and click the show more button to expand out the description box. Okay, we have information from Glenn Beck, McWattersaffect, Bannons War Room, and Vince Dow. But before we get into that, I do have some shout outs to give from Way Bus, just started following my channel. Pap 1957 just started following my channel. Sanfo1BR549. BR549. That kind of reminds me of a show I used to watch as a kid. Anyway, he's just started following my channel, BR549. What was that? Right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, Misty CMI just started following my channel. So thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. All right. Fisher C45 and Colon 1 just gave me a comment on my daily news wrap-up. Susie Pole 2016 and Uncloudy gave me a comment on my episode 1837. Lightning Tree Brand commented on my extra 610C. And Q United We Stand Q commented on my episode 1836. So thank you very much, folks, for your comments. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. Let me give this a thumbs up. There we go. And I have a thumbs up icon right here below the video you're watching. So if you can give me a thumbs up there, that would be fantastic. Okay, comment of the day from Susie Pole 2016. Let's check that out. Good show as usual, Murtech. Thank you, Susie Pole 2016. I greatly appreciate that. Okay, let's jump back here and see what Glenn Beck has to say. And this is Conservative Heaven. The best Trump era decision ever? Well, let's just see about that.
Consider it. You are the greatest man alive today. Thank you for everything that you and Donald Trump have done and announced yesterday.
Well, listen, it was a big deal, and we were excited to be there in the Roosevelt Room to announce it. As you pointed out, the largest act of deregulation in the history of the United States, $1.3 trillion. And a smart guy like you who's been following Supreme Court cases, and you know the timeline, this has been a long time coming. The left, they created this endangerment finding to hoard power in a very unique interpretation of the Clean Air Act that is not allowed under any best reading of it. And they did trillions of dollars of regulation on mobile sources, airplanes, stationary sources, oil and gas. There's so much control that they hoarded, and we just went right for the root. The endangerment finding, the best reading of the Clean Air Act. We know that this is a durable decision that I signed yesterday after Loper Bright and West Virginia versus EPA and Michigan versus EPA. If you want the law to say that EPA should be regulating the heck out of greenhouse gas emissions, that is a topic for a debate and a vote in Congress, not a rogue, unelected bureaucrat at a federal agency.
Yes. I mean, I was just talking to the insiders, during the break, and I said, one reason why a Kia looks like a Genesis and a Genesis looks like a Bentley and the Bentley looks like the Mercedes is that cars you can't design cars to look any different because the regulations are so heavy. You can't add any drag to any cars, so everything starts to look meh. And that's one of the things that I don't think people even think about, let alone, your lighting, your shower head, your water pressure, the money that you're going to save just because trucks are not going to have to spend as much money. So trucking goes down. Any idea how much money we're looking at possible savings for the American people?
Yes, a new vehicle is going to cost over $2,400 less on average now that this decision has been signed. And on top of it all, as an added bonus, we got rid of the Obama switch, the climate participation trophy for manufacturers, of adding that annoying start-stop feature in vehicles that make your car die at red light and stop sign. That off-cycle credit, all off-cycle credits are gone.
I mean, you're talking sexy talk when you're talking about getting that thing out of my car. You had me at hello.
Amen.
How long before we start to see those savings?
Immediately.
Because
I mean,
everything takes time.
The president came in January of 2025. This was a day one executive order. So as far as signaling to auto manufacturers that the president was focused on it, that was a day one message that was sent. We announced on March 12th that we were going to be pursuing this effort. We did the public comment. We followed all of the rules of the Administrative Procedures Act. I read the final decision before signing it yesterday, and this thing is airtight. I referenced Loper Bright a second ago, the Supreme Court case overturning the Chevron doctrine. When the 2009 endangerment finding was done, the Obama administration, the EPA administrator, was creatively interpreting the Clean Air Act to say, well, if it doesn't say I can't, I guess that means we can. Well, the Supreme Court said in Loper Bright, that's not how it works. You have to follow the best reading of the law. And then I also referenced West Virginia versus EPA as an example, the major policies doctrine. If you're going to do trillions of dollars of regulation, that is something that is for Congress. And as far as this decision itself, it was loaded with so many mental leaps. They said that when carbon dioxide was mixed with 5 other well-mixed gases, some of them not even emitted from vehicles, that it contributes, not causes, contributes to global climate change, that you won't find that in Section 202 of the Clean Air Act. And they say global climate change endangers public health and welfare without analyzing the local and regional impacts, which is the way that it was always done for decades. When you actually dig into what the law says, the Obama administration decided, well, I guess we have to change the law. They tried to get the votes in Congress. And then when they couldn't get the votes, they said, well, I guess we're just going to have to do it anyway. Well, fast forward to 2026, game over. The endangerment finding is gone.
So with a lot of the stuff that Trump has done, because we can't seem to get Congress to really do anything, he's had to do it through executive order, et cetera, et cetera. And then I worry about codifying things. But this one is different because this one's all based on the Supreme Court wins, right?
Right. And it's also based off of what the law doesn't allow. This is a best reading of the Clean Air Act, which does not say that we should be regulating an emission to combat global climate change. And you could ignore all of the bad guesses of Al Gore and John Kerry and others. You can replace all of the bad, flawed assumptions on science that were made in 2009 with the most pessimistic predictions that didn't bear out as we look at facts in 2026. Regardless of where anyone is on their opinion or the fact on the science debate, the reality is the Clean Air Act does not authorize this, that Congress would have to pass a new law in order to have the trillions of dollars of regulation. So, yeah, no, it doesn't have to be codified. And quite frankly, because of the Supreme Court precedent, if the pendulum swung one day down the road, that some far left Democrat gets elected president and they have somebody running the EPA and they're trying to go back to it. The problem is that the Clean Air Act is still going to give them the same problem. And Loper Bright is on the books and it says you can't just make it up. And now manufacturers can make vehicles that consumers actually want rather than what politicians demand. And when you combine this decision with the resetting of the CAFE standards with Secretary Duffy and DOT and the president, when you combine it with getting rid of the electric vehicle mandate with the 3 Congressional Review Act bills that Congress passed and President Trump signed, you add the new investments that have been announced, billions of these different manufacturers, and the jobs that come with it, it all adds up for a very positive 1 year for the U.S. auto industry.
So is it going to make the U.S. auto harder to sell in places like the EU? Because they've gone full-fledged insane. Right now, I mean, Ford F-150s, I don't think a single Ford F-150, best-selling car in America, has been sold in Europe. And it's not just the size of it, it's all of the regulations and the tariffs that hopefully Donald Trump is really making a real dent in. But if we relax our regulations, will it be harder for us to sell something in Europe?
Well, I'm confident that there's going to be more F-150s that are going to get built and less electric vehicles that sit on dealership lots and remaining unsold.
Good.
Now, it was a couple months ago, I was at the G7 Energy and Environment Ministers meeting that was in Toronto, Canada, and I could tell that these European countries are really feeling the strain of how they have chosen to protect the environment over growing the economy. See, the Trump administration believes that you could protect the environment and grow the economy. The economic cost of the climate goals that they were set it's coming home to roost right now. And these European countries are facing a reality where, they'll make their decisions in the months and the years to come, but they clearly are in a really bad place right now. And they're rethinking certain policies. Now, how much of that they say publicly versus privately, I don't know. We'll see. But when I was in that meeting and we were having these conversations, clearly they are feeling the economic pressure of their environmental policies.
I have to tell you, I think when America becomes more than competitive, I mean, when we're going in a different direction and it's cheaper and it's better, I just think the world needed leadership. And the world now has leadership. And I think these countries they're just going to collapse on their own weight on things like this. One last thing, Lee, and you kind of addressed it, but I want to make sure, because I mean, this is conservative heaven right now. But for middle class, lower class Democrats, this is really good for them as well. Can you speak to somebody who didn't vote for Donald Trump and thinks that, this is gonna, you're not listening to science?
This is about more consumer choice. This is about having more affordable vehicles. And by the way, when you make the trucks more affordable that deliver all of those consumer goods that you purchase in your daily lives, the cost of living across the board is able to go down. $1.3 trillion. Now, too often when you start talking millions and billions and trillions, a lot of people just kind of view it all as the same. Yeah. These are big numbers. $1.3 trillion is one massive number. When you're talking about $2,400 to purchase a new vehicle, $2,400 less, it's more mobility, more economic mobility. It's the ability to be able to get to work, to get to church. It's the ability to have more money available for healthcare, for education, and the other costs of life. And I was just asked about fossil fuels, and the question was asked in a way as if we should be getting rid of it. And I mean, just look back at the last few weeks. The temperatures across this entire country. Thank God President Trump has been unleashing energy dominance. Thank God we have baseload power, reliable coal and natural gas and oil that's kept our country warm. For the person that you're talking about, that low income, that middle income family, that person who's been struggling, imagine going through the last few weeks without heat. The president's policies, especially when you add them all up, and it's only been 1 year, we still have 3 more years of this. There's a lot that's been fixed. There's a lot more to fix. And I'm just really honored to have a part of it.
Well, I tell you, Lee, you were on the show, I don't know, about a year ago, and you said you were going to do this, and you said that, the president was on it, and the president had told me he was going to do this. And it is nice to see politicians and people in government actually do what they say they're going to do. Congratulations, and please congratulate the president on this as well. Great news.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you. You bet, Lee.
All right. Great information. Donald Trump is doing things. And, unbelievably, it takes time. This was done a year ago in January, started. And then they were able to actually get to it and make some decisions in March to find out what they needed to do. And, here it is almost a year later, finally got it done. It's just so cluttered, so much red tape in the federal government. It's unbelievable. But at any rate, this information does come from Glenn Beck. I'm subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here and see what we have from McWattersaffect. Josh Hawley, I don't know if you've seen this. I think I shared a little bit of this last night. Destroys Keith Ellison on explosive $9 billion fraud showdown. Let's check it out, folks.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel, and today we're going to be checking out a video here where Josh Hawley is talking to, he's grilling Keith Ellison. He's the Attorney General of Minnesota about the fraud that's going on there from the Somali community.
Yeah, this is really interesting. You guys are going to enjoy this. Stick with us. We'd appreciate if you like, share, and subscribe.
Senator Hawley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Ellison, let me start with you. You're the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota. Do I have that correct? That's a yes?
So you're aware of my job. You know the answer. Wow, this is starting out.
You're not going to answer my questions? Are we going to start this way? Are you the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota, yes or no?
You know the answer.
Mr. Ellison, you're in my courtroom now. You're under oath. So I suggest that you answer my questions. You the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the state of Minnesota, yes or no? Let's try another question. Are you familiar with the $9 billion in historic fraud out of your state, including the $250 million in the Feeding Our Future program?
If that was me, I just would have charged him for contempt and threw him out of the damn courtroom.
Yeah, he needs to be pimp slapped around. I'm sorry. You don't act like that in the Senate.
Graham alone. You familiar with that? Don't turn to the pages in your book to get your potted answers. Are you familiar with it? Yes or no?
Yes, I am familiar with it.
Very familiar, aren't you? Because the people who ran the Feeding Our Futures program came to you in your official office in the state capitol December 11th, 2021, and asked for your help in getting investigators off their backs. They complained to you for upwards of an hour about state investigators going after them, and they begged you to help them. And you agreed to it, amazingly. And we know you did.
That's not
because
true.
It's all caught on tape.
Yeah,
every single sentence is caught on tape. Here's what you said. Let's take a look. You said, it's not a question. You said to them, send me the names of all these folks who are investigating them. You said to them, send me their names. And I'll take that list and I'll call the person over at Education who's investigating them and say, what's going on? Why am I getting these complaints? Then you went on to say, I already have my team working on this. What day should we get together to discuss it again? You made pledge after pledge to them. You said, we've got to make sure this guy who's investigating them stops.
I don't know about you guys. I'm so glad Josh Hawley is bringing up this recording, because so far when it comes to the news, no one's talking about this, that this guy pretty much incriminated himself for an hour in this phone call with, or actually meeting he had with these people trying to actually keep the fraud going.
Yeah, this is absolutely, he should be charged for crimes just for what's on this recording. Okay, he's basically conspiring to stop the investigation. I don't know how he isn't in handcuffs already.
You said, you have my attention. I'm concerned about this. You said, let's go fight these people, meaning the people who were investigating the fraud. Why'd you do it? Why'd you help them?
Are you going to let me answer?
Please, we're all ears.
So first of all, you're cherry picking quotes out of there.
Why did you help them?
I thought you were going to let me answer.
Why did you
Are you
help
going to let
them?
me answer?
Why did you help
You
them?
let me answer, and I'll answer you.
Tell the truth, and I'll let you answer.
I will tell the truth.
Good.
Let's do
That'd
that.
be a nice change. Why'd you help them?
Now see, Mr. Chairman, I didn't come here to be insulted. I came here voluntarily.
You came here for the truth. Let's have it. Why did you help them? The quotes are here. They're in black and white, and every member of this audience can listen to the recording. It's 54 minutes long. It's all in public. You can Google it right now and listen to it.
And listen to it
Why'd
all.
you help them?
First of all, I didn't help them.
You did help them.
No, I did not. I certainly didn't.
You're saying you didn't do anything for them. You didn't.
Well, wait a minute.
I already have my team working on this again. That's not you.
I have my team. My team assisted with the information that led to the prosecution and conviction of these people.
No, you didn't. You didn't lift a finger to prosecute them. No, you did not.
No, because it was a federal prosecution.
You had BS. You had whistleblowers come to you as early as 2019.
You're the one talking BS.
Hey, listen, it's my time.
Doesn't know what you're talking about.
Oh, no, sir. You now have encountered the truth, and you don't like it. Why'd you take their money? Why'd you take their money?
I didn't.
You took
$10,000. No, that's a false statement.
$10,000 9 days after the meeting.
False statement.
You took $10,000. Here's what happened. They went to your office. They solicited money from you. They solicited help from you.
That's also wrong.
They came to your office. It was your official office. You met with them for 54 minutes.
No,
they asked you for help. You pledged it to them, and they talked repeatedly about money. In fact, it's all they talked about. Money, 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 money. They said, we will put our dollars in the right place. We will support candidates that will fight to protect our interests. You replied, that's right.
Wow. That's pretty explosive. The thing is, the idea that he didn't do anything to help them is completely false. Josh Hawley's 100% correct.
Yeah, you just saw it in black and white. And it's so very rare that we get to see it. Like, we got it on recording. We have records of the monies he got and when. Again, I don't know how this guy isn't in cuffs already.
They said if you are securing your donor base and securing your power base, you can act the way you want. You replied, money is freedom. They said the amount of money circulating, I'm reading the transcript, the amount of money circulating in our community today is powerful, and we haven't realizing it in a meaningful way. And you said, give me the specifics. And 9 days later, you took $10,000 from people who were then indicted. It's in your reports. Why'd you do it?
Sir,
was it worth it?
You know what? This is a theatrical performance.
This is the truth. This is what accountability looks like, of which you've had none. You helped fraudsters defraud your state and this government of $9 billion, and you got a fat campaign contribution out of it. You ought to be indicted.
True. Well,
that's the truth.
I think we've made the point. Let's keep the tenor.
Well,
just
for the record,
I'll ask how I want.
He's lying, and that's the truth.
Oh no, this is all on the record, sir. Did you bother Did you bother to investigate where the money that you facilitated their fraud for?
Normally, I don't like this kind of theatrics, but at this point in time, when it comes to Keith Ellison and what's going on in Minnesota, it needs to happen because this guy needs to be put to the coals of what exactly is going on there and why he facilitated it. Why didn't he prosecute people? Why didn't he do anything to stop it?
Yeah, you know what? I normally don't prefer this either because it's usually very unproductive. The problem is you've got Ellison sitting here caught red-handed, just bold-faced lying. And when someone does that to me, I get angry too. You're seeing anger, and it's righteous anger from Senator Hawley. And frankly, like you, Matt, I am glad he's doing it.
Or where it went? Do you know where it went, what it was used for? The fraudulent money? I do because we just heard testimony about it yesterday.
Because we were key players in the
hundreds of millions of dollars to terrorist groups, to transnational criminal organizations, to the drug trade, to drug trafficking, to child trafficking. And you took $10,000
That's a lie.
And helped them do it. You know, the other thing is whistleblowers came to you as early as 2019. Let's look. As early as 2019, whistleblower. Don't talk over me.
No,
as early as
talking
2019, it's my hearing, pal. As early as 2019,
don't call me
whistleblowers came to. Well, I should call you prisoner because
I'll pause that at the right point. Here's the thing, Keith Ellison, he worked in the House. He knows how these committees go. The thing is, while the person is asking questions or at least talking, he can't say anything, and they can interrupt him anytime because it's their time to get the information out. And they have a limited amount of time. And Keith Ellison trying to actually put a word in there and interrupt and so on and so forth. All he's doing is giving Josh Hawley more time because he's going to ask, hey, where's my time for the time that he interrupt me and decide to butt in with his lies?
Yeah, Ellison's goal here is to eat as much of the 5 minutes that Senator Hawley gets up with complete BS answers, and Hawley isn't having it. I'm so proud of this interrogation right here because it's righteous and absolutely necessary.
You ought to be in jail.
Well, we'll see what you can do.
In 2019, whistleblowers came to you in your office and referred to you fraud allegations from Feeding Our Futures, and you blew them off. Listen, your own state newspaper
That's a lie.
investigated it. The Minnesota Star Tribune, the Partners in Nutrition, brought its concerns to the Attorney General's office in 2018 and in 2019, and you did nothing. You did nothing for years. The only action you took is once all these fraudsters came to your office and asked you to get involved and offered you money, then you got involved. Then you took the money and then you got involved.
They did not come to my office. You're completely wrong about that.
You met with him
I did
for
not take anybody's
54
money.
minutes, and you took $10,000. And
so the only thing he's wrong about is they didn't come to his office.
You know what? I imagine he had a lot of meetings outside of his office because that would be the place you would want to conduct this type of meeting where there wouldn't be any official record of who you met with. So, he's playing like the Jedi mind trick, get out of a lie thing here. Like, well, it wasn't in my office. Well, thanks for that information. So essentially everything else is true, though.
What does "is" mean?
Depends on what the definition is.
they also gave your family money. They gave your family thousands of dollars in campaign contributions in addition to what they gave
false
you.
Statement.
Let's put the
this is completely untrue.
The New York Post.
Yeah, we know the New York Post.
Minnesota Keith Ellison, AG, accepted campaign donations from individuals linked to the $250 million COVID fraud scheme after they were in your office. The donations came on December 20th.
Sir,
you met with them on December the 11th, and on January 20th, the FBI knocked over their headquarters.
No.
That's the secret.
The reason they know this is because campaign finance laws is telling on Keith Ellison. This guy's a moron.
Yeah, you can't hide it. You took the money.
Sequence of events here.
No, it's not.
You've been right at the center of this fraud thing from the beginning, and you've enabled it. And sir,
the false
you should resign.
And sir, you should resign. I was thinking the same thing about you.
You should resign.
I was thinking the exact same thing about you.
I'm sure after encountering this truth, you are, because it hurts to have accountability, doesn't it?
Because after this parade of lies and presentation,
here's a straight problem with the left, and I'd say America in general. There's no shame in these people. And that's the reason you're never going to see this numbnut here ever resign. You know why? Because he has no shame. He thinks he did nothing wrong. He was protecting his brothers and make sure they got what was theirs. That's how he looks at it.
He's entitled to it. He's entitled. And, Josh shouldn't be asking any questions. Yeah, what a shame.
Yeah, he's got the wrong pigmentation.
That's right.
Time has expired.
I think you should be ashamed for misrepresentation.
Time has expired. Senator Moreno.
That was crazy. You have Keith Ellison says he should be ashamed. Of what? He went out there and actually presented the truth and has the evidence to back it up. What does this guy have? Nothing. All he has is just words and lies.
Yeah. It's one lie after another from the whole party. And in this instance, they got him dead to rights. I mean, he literally should lawyer up because I would imagine charges are coming.
We'll wait and see. But guys, this is the end of the video. We hope y'all enjoyed. Please hit that like button, comment, and share this out to everybody.
Okay, let me pause that. Let me click on the Rumble button and show you this video does come from McWattersaffect. It's the video I shared with you. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. And the question that I have to ask, I believe that Josh Hawley was telling facts, who's given us the facts. And if those are the facts, why isn't this guy been indicted? I don't know. I don't get it. Is there some kind of magic umbrella if you're in politics that you can't be indicted? What the frick is this? I don't get it. Being in politics gives you the license to steal, defraud the government? I don't get it. I just don't get it. Let me know what you think, folks, in the chat or the comments, but I just don't get it. Okay, let's come back here. Bannon's War Room. New FBI memo shows the FBI ran secret January 6th tabletop exercise in the summer of 2020, 4 months before the election, 3 months. Let's see, 3 or 4 months before the election. Let's see what they're talking about.
Senator John Thune in the Senate.
You've got a pretty explosive story you put up at midnight last night on Just the News. Let me get this correct. A year before January 6th, the FBI knew there might be some consternation about the election, given everything, given the Democrats already wargaming it. They thought this thing through, and they actually had plans specifically for January 6th, sir?
Yeah, they did. They had a tabletop exercise that they ran in Boston in August of 2020, 5 months before January 6th occurred. The memos, which Kash Patel just turned over to Congress, he just found them recently, turned them over to Congress at the request of Chairman Barry Loudermilk, who's in charge of the J6 investigation now in the House, showed that the FBI knew there was a strong possibility of a hanging election or a contested election, that both sides appeared to be agitated and likely could likely carry out that agitation to the point of violence. And they even devised very specific strategies. And one of them is to embed informants inside the groups where the most likely political violence or political agitation might occur. That is something that the FBI did. We had 24 informants on the ground on the morning of January 6th. The second thing they recommended was mass prosecutions, even for the most minor of crimes. Exactly what the FBI did after January 6th. Now, there are two big things about that strategy. It's pretty clear the strategy was hatched months before, and that's what they carried out. It's not the strategy they used for the political violence that BLM and the far left conducted all throughout the summer and fall of 2020. So a very clear double standard. The second thing is they did embed informants in a lot of groups, including left and right groups, Antifa and right-wing groups, and they got lots of intelligence suggesting a bad episode would occur. We now know from Chairman Barry Loudermilk that while those warnings were very strong from the informants, the preparations and the warnings from the FBI to their brethren in the Capitol in Washington, D.C. did not exist. They didn't pass on the warnings from the informants. So two failed examples of the Chris Wray era of the FBI. Knowing something was going to happen, implementing a strategy that hurt conservatives but not liberals, and not warning the people who could actually prevent the violence from occurring. That is the legacy of the Chris Wray FBI. It's what we now have out in open. These documents are now out there for everybody to see. Pretty stunning, though maybe not so stunning given what we've learned about the FBI.
Is there any part of this that shows that they briefed, that Bill Barr and Chris Wray briefed the President of the United States, or briefed his staff, or briefed senior people at the White House after the tabletop exercise and after they came up with a plan of how to get informants? Is there any evidence at all that people that should have known about this were actually informed about it?
No, it doesn't look like the Attorney General knew, Bill Barr, or the brass, at least not as of now. There's no documentation showing that. There's no mention of it in the documents even suggesting that we alert the Attorney General or the Homeland Security Department or the Capitol Police or the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police. So it looks like the insular sort of pillared FBI existed again. These are the same diseases that affected the FBI before 9/11, and you're starting to see the same thing. You plan for something, you don't create the scenario where that planning actually results in success. It results in failure, and the American people are the big loser. January 6th was a preventable attack, as was 9/11. We now know that from the 9/11 report. The parallels between the two are really, really remarkable. And I think the Chris Wray era, a lot of people talk about the James Comey era. There's plenty of reason to talk about James Comey. but he was a much shorter-termed FBI director. Chris Wray was a much more consequential, longer FBI director, and perhaps caused more harm to the institution and to security in America and to law and order in America. He went after Catholics. He went after school parents. He went after FBI agents if they were pro-Trump or pro-Second Amendment. And he had all the goods to prepare and stop a January 6th crisis, but instead failed to do so.
Okay, there you have it. We're at the end of this video. And again, I'll have to ask, where are the indictments? Where are the indictments? Clicking on the Rumble here to MJ Truth. He shared this video from Bannons War Room. I'm following the channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here. Doing a little chatting here with M41 Coco. If anybody else wants to jump in, by all means do so. She wants to know where everybody's from. I told her I'm from Indianapolis. Okay, scrolling down here, we have some information from Vince Dow. Latino migrants melt down in tears after new GOP law forces them to learn English for driving. Yeah, well, I would think that you would have to know English in order to be able to read the road signs. Let's check this out, see what this is all about.
Outrage and confusion over the state's new policy that bans people from taking the driver's license test in Spanish or Creole.
Not fair, says Freddy Velasquez, the 35-year-old Honduran man talking about the state's new policy that bans people from taking all driving tests in Spanish or Haitian Creole. Up until now, people had already been told no more tests in Spanish. The governor has been clear, says it's a safety issue and people need to be able to read the road signs.
Pero, a ver, en inglés, por tema de seguridad, ¿y por qué desde ahora?
If it's a security issue, Adriel Ortiz asks, why now then?
So over the past year or so, we've been extensively documenting these cases of illegal aliens and foreigners being given driver's licenses, oftentimes commercial driver's licenses, in the United States of America, and then proceed to kill American citizens in fatal car accidents because they can't speak the language, they don't understand the road signs, they don't know the rules of the road, and unfortunately, the logical consequence of quote-unquote diversity on our highways manifests itself in fatal car crashes that are taking the lives of American citizens. We furthermore had to address and respond to a lot of dumb left-wing arguments about how it would be racist or unnecessarily cruel to mandate English proficiency to drive on our roads. Because after all, there's plenty of arguments to be made as to whether illegal aliens should be driving or working in the United States to begin with. There's an assimilation argument to be made that if you're going to move to our country, you should respect its customs by learning the language. But even all of that aside, right, even deleting the whole aspect of this debate surrounding immigration and assimilation, there is still a very basic human common sense angle to all of this, which is, after all, if you cannot read or understand the road signs on a highway, you are dangerous. You are operating what is a deadly weapon, right? A motor vehicle can cause great harm. And when you don't know what you're doing, maybe you shouldn't be behind the wheel of that motor vehicle. These are the same leftists who say, oh, you know, we don't have strict enough gun laws. They're so dangerous. Maybe you should have to have more training and regulation. Then apparently, people who don't even know how to read road signs should be given driver's licenses. Leftists, it's so insane, and it's just yet another example of what they're really fun to protest. You know, you look at the streets right now of Minneapolis, where you have all this moralizing and virtue signaling. Our immigrant neighbors, look at these evil Nazis dragging innocent people away. No, what leftists are really advocating for is the anarchic society of people who are constantly committing crimes and facing no consequences because criminal justice reform. A bunch of foreigners in a country who don't even speak the language because, you know, that's diversity. Apparently, countries become better when people can't even communicate with each other. And then lastly, apparently it's good to drive on roads when, you know, you have a bunch of people from different countries who don't know the laws and can't speak the language. It's, of course, insane. It's ridiculous. Now, that said, I want to shift everyone's attention today to the state of Florida, which is, as usual, is kind of the leading force in conservative state legislation here, because many of you may remember that this whole debate nationally started back last summer when an illegal alien by the name of Harjinder Singh, who was given a commercial driver's license by the state of California, caused a fatal car crash in Florida after he made an illegal U-turn, right? He basically tried to use one of those official use only medians in the middle of the highway. His trailer got stuck in the middle of the road, and then a car behind him full of a family of American citizens didn't have time to hit the brakes, stop, hit the trailer, crashed, unfortunately there, passed away. Well, the state of Florida has now since responded by passing a brand new law that will mandate English proficiency, not just for CDLs, because I don't think it should stop there, right? All driver's licenses in the state of Florida. In other words, when you go to take the written driver's test on an exam, you now have to take the test in English. You cannot use a different government form. You can't try to use a translator. No, you have to take the test in English. Why? Because the whole point is what? We want you to be able to read the road signs. Why do we want you to be able to read the road signs? Not only is it common, it came from an illegal alien who literally caused it because he couldn't read the road signs. So there's a very real practical need for this. It absolutely makes basic logical sense. But as you could imagine, this week we have leftists here in the state that are now completely losing their minds. Local news is trying to run stories about how, oh, this poor Latino person, they can't speak any English. Now, granted, they've lived in America for a decade now, but they can't speak any English. And now how are they going to get their driver's license? To which I say, gee, I don't know. Have you considered learning the language, right? You want to drive, then learn how to drive. Actually, reading the road signs is a part of driving, right? It's a part of knowing how to drive. So anyways, that said, I want to bring you this information of the new Florida law, as well as some of the cartoonishly ridiculous reactions that I'm seeing in my own local news. First, though, guys, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We greatly appreciate the support, but it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all the latest news and coverage. And that said, if you don't believe me, take a listen to how many local news stations here in Florida are trying to represent the new fascist, horrible state law. There's a lot of tears. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of ridiculousness over something very big that, frankly, should have always been the law everywhere in the United States. Check it out.
NBC6 met Daniela crying in the hallway outside a Miami tax collector's office. She was excited to pick up her driver's license, but that excitement turned to sorrow.
Hice un curso, hice todo el examen y vengo y ahora me toca repetirlo. Y ya me toca inglés, no hablo inglés.
Daniela showed us proof she passed her knowledge exam in Spanish, but as Florida law states, for those who use an authorized third-party test administrator, she was randomly selected to take the test again. The test will only be in English. Therefore, Daniela hit a major roadblock. Daniela is one of many that will not be able to take their driver's license exams in any other language other than English, and they will not have the option of an interpreter or translator. Some residents told NBC6 they are against this new policy, but some state officials like Governor Ron DeSantis believe this change will make roadways safer by ensuring drivers can read English language road signs.
And experts with PolitiFact say the effects of Florida's policy may be small because traffic signs are typically universal symbols rather than words. They also believe the policy could lead to more unlicensed drivers.
Yeah, you see exactly what I'm talking about. No, I can't take the test because I don't speak English. Yeah, that's the point, right? I understand that a lot of people come to this country with the idea in their brain that a country you immigrate to is supposed to somehow accommodate you, but it's actually supposed to be the opposite, right? Yes, that is the entire point. You can't pass the driver's test because you can't speak English, okay? And also addressing the arguments here of the local news. They're trying to say, well, you know, you don't really need to speak English to drive in the United States because road signs are universal. To that I say, first of all, no, they're not, actually. You know, having been to other countries, having been, for example, to places in the European Union, one thing I do notice about American road signs is actually, as a matter of fact, they're not universal. And in many cases, they're not intuitive, right? You go to other countries, yes, there are a lot of these signs with just no words on it. It's just a symbol, so that way anyone of any language can understand what they mean. Actually, predominantly, I would say in America, a lot of our road signs, first of all, are kind of confusing to begin with, but then secondly, many of them actually do require English to know. As a couple of examples, you have the official use only sign, the very thing, by the way, that caused the Harjinder Singh crash. So you can't really argue, oh, people don't need to speak English to drive on the road, when, after all, the whole crash that started this was because someone could not read and also, secondly, ignored a road sign that was in English. The same is true of a word like yield, merge, exit only. These are all situations where you have to get over and they can cause car crashes, right? We'll talk about that more in a second. But that's just the reality I would like to point out, which brings me to my second point, which is I would argue in our country, much more than other countries, it is very important that in order to drive, you need to be able to speak English because the road signs actually are not universal and they're not intuitive. Now, you might make the case that, maybe American road signs should be that way, but, that debate is completely irrelevant. They're not. They're already there. And so in order to be safe on them, yes, actually, you do have to be able to speak English. And then lastly, of course, local news tries to argue that, well, it might just cause more unlicensed drivers because, when you make something illegal, people will just do it illegally, to which I say, oh, you mean like the border, right? I don't know. I don't get the point. I think there's already a lot of unlicensed drivers, to be completely honest with you, all over the United States. I seem to have noticed, by the way, over the past 4 to 5 years, it seemed like they exploded a little bit, but, no, the entire point, yes, is that we want to be able to actually enforce the law and enforce it against you if, you can't speak English. And arguably, honestly, the same is true if you get stopped by the police, right? If you get part of a traffic stop, I mean, I guess you can translate or something, but, it's also easier for the police officers. But anyways, just many different arguments as to why it is a necessity to speak English. And you don't need to take my word for that, right? The whole reason we started talking about this is because it already happened, right? Fatal crashes already happened because of people who could not speak English. And by the way, I would argue this is especially true in Miami. I don't know how many of you have driven in Miami in the past several years. I have. I will tell you, it may actually be the single worst place to drive in America, right? I've driven in LA, Atlanta, New York, places like that. Miami is by far the worst. And, now thinking about how maybe disproportionately of any American city, they speak the least English. Maybe there could be a translation there, a reason, a correlation as to why that is. But, if you ever driven in Miami when there's a lot of traffic around, it's just utter chaos, first of all. You're talking about a place where you don't get a lot of warning from the road signs of, hey, this lane is going to turn into an exit only, or this needs to merge, or this is going this way, right? So already, at the last minute, everyone's trying to make all these moves. But then secondly, when something says exit only and you cannot read the exit only, you will notice various cases of people in Miami who don't realize it's an exit only and at the very last minute are all trying to merge into each other. And it's confounded by the fact that nobody uses turn signals. Nobody has any basic manners. And I don't know, maybe those things could also correlate to certain, third world country driving habits. You're kind of noticing a pattern here, right? And what it results in is one of the most stressful and, by the way, dangerous environments to drive in the entire United States, okay? There's a reason why our car insurance here in Florida is a ridiculous price for everybody, because that literally just happens. You have these idiots who don't signal and they're like, oh, wait, I got to merge now, and just, ram into each other. It happens all the freaking time. So am I even necessarily saying that the traffic problem in Miami and Tampa and Orlando and many of the cities in a state with a large, non-English speaking population would be necessarily solved by just making people know how to read road signs and know how to speak English and how to read English? Not necessarily, but, I venture to guess it has to have an impact, right? Because why is it of any city in our state, the one that speaks the least English has the biggest problem with not just driving, but in particular driving when it comes to, these things, the interchanges where you have exits onlys, some lanes are going this way, some lanes are going, I'm just saying. So anyways, that said, it doesn't stop at Miami. Let's bring you this article out of the Florida Alligator. Shout out to my college town, where my alma mater in Gainesville. But anyways, this is what they're saying about it. As of February 6th, the driver's license exam and its instructions will be administered exclusively in English following a directive from the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. Previously, the exams and instructions for obtaining a license or permit were available in multiple languages, including Spanish, Chinese, Haitian Creole, Portuguese, French, and Russian. The change poses a disruption for Florida's large non-English speaking communities. Oh no, poor them. In 2023, over 1 in 5 Florida households reported speaking primarily Spanish at home. So wait, you mean to tell me that traffic's going to dip by 20%? This is an amazing law. But anyways, Haitian Creole was the second most common non-English language at 2% of households. Now, in Gainesville, community members have reservations about the change. As one example, UF Spanish and Portuguese professor here said that she was able to take a license exam in Spanish in 2021 before the directive had went into effect. She said that having the exam in her native language gave her a sense of security and comfort, and she wishes that others had the same opportunity. What? Right? Oh, yeah, we're so happy. The old law gave you personally a sense of security and comfort. Okay. Do you know, UF Spanish professor, what's much more important than having your personal sense of security and comfort? Security and comfort for everybody else on the road, okay? It's not about your feelings. It's not about you feeling like you're welcomed or tolerated or you being included. No, this is driving, okay? The point is not diversity or being tolerant. The point is to save lives. And frankly, it tells you so much about woke, quote unquote, politics that they will argue garbage like this. It's like, oh, it's actually a good thing to make the roads more dangerous for people. And who cares if more people die because of it? Because we want people who don't even speak the language of our country to feel included. Are you dumb? Are you a different word that, I'm not going to say, but, it kind of applies here? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? This is a driver's test, okay? This is not some stupid survey that you're taking for Latin Heritage History Month or some banner you're putting up in the town or something about, diversity, okay? Like, this is the road. You understand? It affects real people's lives, whether you can speak English or understand what's happening or not. So maybe know what is going on, right? Maybe there are things in this. I know leftists, you're very narcissistic. You struggle to comprehend this. Maybe there are things in the world that are more important than your own personal feelings, right? I get it, right? You're narcissistic. You're self-serving people, despite how much you claim to be empathetic and compassionate. You lack all of those things. But seriously, think about someone other than yourself for 2 seconds. Yeah, just a thought, right? But anyway, she argued, quote, "I feel more safe knowing I would not have to worry about not knowing a word," Messias said. "I was more calm in understanding what I was doing, and at no point did I have any complication." Yeah, maybe that's the problem, right? Imagine that. Okay, what's the word you don't understand? Is it speed, right? Is it stop? Yeah? Yeah? Oh, you don't understand those words in the United States where those words are written. Oh, yeah, but hey, who cares if they killed someone? They felt safe and included and tolerated when they took the driver's test. This is a college professor. This is a college professor making an argument this freaking dumb. So, obviously it goes on and on. They're just completely seething about this. But no, this is a fantastic law. I hope it is very strictly enforced. And, just second point I would make about this, I hope it applies to Uber drivers as well, right? Because I think that most of us in this country have had that experience as of late, right? Where, you run into some Uber driver, and actually most Uber drivers, I would argue, they can't speak any English. Which, I'm not even necessarily saying I care about it because I don't really want to be talking to my taxi driver anyway. Most of the time, to tell you the honest truth, I'm not in the mood. But, I'll give you an example. Okay, so first of all, you do notice a pattern, right? Every time the Uber driver seems like an illegal alien, most of the time they're awful drivers. Okay, every time I'm like, oh no, here we go, right? But then, recently I was in Miami and I had this Uber trying to pick me up from the hotel, and this guy couldn't figure out how to get into the hotel. You know why? He couldn't read what the parking lot entrance sign said. So he thought it was going to charge him money. It wasn't charging him money. It says it's free for 30 minutes. Doesn't know what that means. Can't figure out how to get inside. So then he calls me. Just true story. He calls me only speaking in Spanish. And I'm like, okay, I haven't spoken in Spanish for a long time. I don't know what you're saying. Can I just try to speak in English? And he's like, en español? And he's like demanding at me that I speak Spanish, and then just getting frustrated at me for me being the one that doesn't know, And it's just like, how many times do we have to keep having this experience in the United States of America, right? In an English-speaking country, yes, it is frustrating, but it's not just about the social frustration. It's actively dangerous. So here's hoping as well that we see a crackdown and a reduction in illiterate Uber drivers as well, right? Maybe we don't need to have all self-driving taxis because, I'll be completely honest with you. As of late, because of those types of experiences, my opinions have been changing on things like self-driving taxis and Waymos. I actually took a few this past year when I was on the West Coast because the logic is like, look, I used to be against that stuff. I used to be against the AI revolution, self-driving. I don't trust it, and it's sort of dystopian and all that. But then, I think about it for a moment. This is what's been in my head as of late. I'm like, look, okay, would I rather trust an AI supercomputer to drive me or an illegal alien, right? I'm taking the AI computer every single time. I think they're going to be much safer on the road. And, am I concerned about the social displacement that a lot of this AI and automation stuff is going to cause? I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's something that we're going to have to figure out as a society, right? What do we do about these jobs? But frankly, okay, I'm not so worried about automation taking American jobs if the jobs are not going to Americans to begin with. You understand, right? Like if I live in a country where, all of the taxi and Uber drivers are primarily Americans and they know what they're doing and you can communicate basic words with them, then I might say, okay, in that case, maybe we should put a pause on this stuff because I'm concerned about what it's going to do to these people. But the illegal aliens, really? No, I trust the AI over them any day, right? I'm actually hoping, as a matter of fact, laws like this and the self-driving taxis now, moving to more and more cities. Yeah, get these illegal aliens out of Uber, right? And, hopefully, who knows? If anything, maybe it'll all sort of trigger and incentivize more self-deportation, right? What can we say? Do I have concerns about saving American jobs? Yes, I do. But until these corporations prove that they're serious about hiring Americans, bring on the robots is what I say. Bring on the AI, and bring on laws like this, obviously, because they're common sense. But, anyways, there you essentially have it. I know, a little side tangent, just many social, personal frustrations, I got to be honest, that I have as of late just being baked into one video. So, my apologies, but it is what it is, right? It's a real thing, If all the truck drivers, all the Uber drivers are going to be these illegal aliens who are crashing, no, replace them with robots. No, 100%, totally support that, right? But, anyways, that said, let me know your thoughts on this, guys, in the comment section.
Okay, there you have it, folks. And let me show you that this video does come from Vince Dow. And, it's amazing. I believe that, the person should be able to take the test in English if they're going to be driving on roads that have English signs, okay? I'm subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. And Susie Poll 2016 had a great point in that people from the Philippines, Vietnam, Cambodia cannot take the driver's license test in their native language either. So, okay, if you're going to have it in one language, then whoever wants to come in and take a test, you ought to have the test in that specific language as well. China, Japan, German. So, French, what the hell? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Or maybe you could just have all the driver's license testing done in English. What a freaking concept. Okay, let me share some information here from Rumble Premium.
If you haven't already, make sure you download the Rumble app. It's free, simple to use, and the best way to stay connected to the content you want.
Once you've got it, search for my channel and hit follow. That way, you'll get a notification every time we go live, no missed shows, no extra steps.
You can grab it right now using the link in the description or the pinned live chat. Download it to your phone, and you're ready to go.
And if you prefer watching on the big screen, Rumble is available on all major streaming devices and smart TVs. Just search for Rumble, follow the channel, and be part of the action.
Okay, folks, I've copied the live chat into a comment here, so it'll be a permanent part of this video. And Let me remind you that these videos that I'm sharing with you are videos that come directly from the producer's channel. I've got the links to the videos right here in the description box, as well as the links to the producer's channel. So these videos that I've shared with you here are videos that I've posted here on Mertech.com. And if you've tuned in late, I did decorate my site, Mertech.com, for Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. But I do have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos here. The kind of information that you're not going to get on the mainstream media. I'd like to share all of this information with you. Unfortunately, I just don't have the time to do that. I do have my daily news wrap-up. Let's jump over here. I've got information from McWattersaffect, official Jovan Hutton Pulitzer, Barry Cunningham, Alex Newman with Liberty Sentinel. Some more Liberty Sentinel information here. We the People News, PBD podcast, some more Barry Cunningham, all kinds of great information. I've got like 15 videos in here and about 9 or 10 hours worth of great information. So go ahead and take a break right now. Grab a cup of coffee and a donut, or a sandwich and a soft drink and a beer, or a nice glass of wine and some cheese, and meet me back here at 9:30 and we'll get this going. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being here. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.